So explain the Other Side Village and how you got from doing the Other Side Academy to getting into doing this village project, which is a tiny home community for, is it housing first? Is it considered housing first?
We would say that we draw on aspects of the housing first model that we think are really important and have been proved with some pretty thorough research. But we believe we're also adding some evolutions that are much better geared towards providing people the opportunity to really take control of their lives and be empowered to reach new goals. Housing First, as such, is really a macro policy that's meant to say, how can government at the broadest level address homelessness? That's important and fits in its own place. What we're doing is trying to say, how can we take people who have been, chronically disempowered, not given control of their lives or their communities, and actually give them some of that power back and put them in a community that supports them and provides feedback and accountability.
Yeah, and I think the key aspect of what you're talking about is that word community, because I'm going to show clips later on in the program. I talked to these young people in Pioneer Park, and they're very likely drug addicts, and they're not ready to find jobs. But the point is, they're there. I say, do you get an aspect of community here that you can't get someplace else? And they all say, absolutely.
This is basically, same people here every day. We're like family.
You guys watch each other.
Yeah, we go through it.
Like, to be able to have a circle of surrogate family members, I suppose, is the best word, where you have people watching your back. You're all in the kind of the same situation. You're all on the streets, and maybe you're all hoping for the best, but a lot of these people came through the foster care system. They were neglected or had terrible family and home lives. And is that what you believe is the key component to the tiny home community that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you really nailed it with the comparison to the already existing communities on the streets. I think that's one of the least understood parts of homelessness, is the important role that those communities play in mitigating some of the vulnerability that's created for people by living on the streets, and quite often not having the same access to services like policing and other types of protection that the most of us rely on and call upon when we need it. And so, when you actually are in the streets interacting with people who are currently unsheltered, what you typically find is that there's a very strong sense of community, and there are structures that you don't see from the street when you're driving past, but that are built to deal with things like trash collection and keeping camps clean, cooking and water, and just like all of us, people who are unsheltered thrive when they have other people around them who can complement their work and their services and create multifaceted community that addresses all of the various needs that we have.
Yeah. And so this current, I guess, policy of the mayor's office to basically just be bulldozing the homeless out of these encampments, which they form because they keep safe. I mean, if I were homeless, I wouldn't want to be camping around other people. I wouldn't want to be out on my own on the middle of the sidewalk. Do you think that this is an answer to that policy and that problem of the homeless population just creating all these camps everywhere?
Yeah, I'll say for me personally, I think that the abatement process, the constant pushing of people who are living on the streets, has catastrophic consequences for those communities. And quite often it is one of the essential elements in keeping people in the place they're at. During those abatements, you're broken up not only from your community, but from family and friends. Oftentimes you lose precious belongings that you're going to have to go find another way to get, despite the fact that you're currently unsheltered. And so it's re-traumatizing and and re-victimizing a group that is already struggling to get back on their feet. And so I understand, and I want to give credit to some of the logic behind those policies, because that's something that, for instance, business owners downtown feel like they have to ask for, because there is not a really good solution that exists because the problem is so exacerbated. But I think short, medium, and long-term abatements can really be a part of exacerbating the problem. I think, to the mayor's credit, one thing that she's tried really hard to do is start including service providers in those pushes, where they can use those as points of contact to try to attach people to services. I don't know if that's the best way to get people access to services, but I appreciate
service providers like who?
Yeah, the Other Side Academy sometimes will go to those and say, is this an opportunity that you're looking for? And, I think we can all imagine that when you're in the middle of having all of your stuff taken away and being pushed out of a place that you had just built a little bit of comfort around, it's not a great time to make large life decisions about your future pathway. But I would give Mayor Mendenhall credit for really trying to find a way to do it better than it's done in the past.
Yeah, and I've noticed that a lot of push has gone behind this Nomad Alliance. You heard about those guys? Yeah. They just collect supplies for homeless people. Yeah. I think like toilet paper, lotion, shampoo, soap and stuff, socks. And they're helping to keep people in a more comfortable position when they're out on the streets like that. And but man, I witnessed my first abatement ever, and the cops pushed us all out. Anybody who had a camera, anybody who didn't have a camera could stay in there, but anybody who had a camera, they pushed us out. And it was the most horrible thing to sit there and watch, because here's a guy, I'm gonna show this interview later, an old couple. The guy is probably about 65, and his wife, who's suffering from, I think, liver disease, and they can't work really, but they plopped their RV in this empty lot, and all the guy can say is, you know what, I just want to thank the city for letting us stay here as long as they have.
We've been here longer than we thought we'd be, and we appreciate the city putting up with everybody this long. It's been helpful to all of us, and we need to thank you again.
We've been here for a month. We can't afford to put this thing anywhere else. I'm just trying to take care of my wife. And and he can't scramble to get his stuff fast enough. And so they're taking his stuff, putting it into a dump truck while he's, scrambling to take care of his wife and it's just like the saddest thing you've ever seen. And you can't believe this is really Salt Lake City. Yeah. This is really how we're going to treat these seniors and these vulnerable people. And it's just, I just couldn't believe it.